So I'm going to call the October meeting of the Planning Commission, a regular meeting to order. Roll call by recording secretary.
All members present with the exception of Ted Stryhouse.
Consideration of any changes, additions, or removals to the agenda. I actually have one. Erin has asked us, and I've been working with her on this Better Connections grant. It's a way for us to get the pedestrian safety stuff that we wanted in place and put potential parking in place and paying for the engineering studies for that to happen. And I think it's a good idea. The one thing I asked Erin to add was to make sure she adds was our survey, because it's from 2023. We sent it to every single resident of the village. And then we had a whole bunch of second homeowners that accessed it online, because there's a lot of data from second homeowners who we did not send it to unless they were residents of Ludlow and they voted and they're on the checklist. So that's, pertinent information, and I asked her to include that in the grant, but other than that, I'm good with what I've seen so far. So we need to vote on a resolution, on the vote, whether you want me to sign the resolution or not. It's due by the end of next week on the 31st.
Wasn't that approved and signed by the select board, or the trustees last night?
Select board, how are you getting that done, Erin? Because they
I talked to Brendan, we're gonna have to hold a special meeting.
Okay, because they canceled last night. And
I understand, yeah. That's something that we're all coordinating, and a special meeting's gonna have to get held as soon as Brendan can put it together, but he's aware of the deadline, so.
Okay, I just saw it as a way for us to get those pedestrian safety goals to happen.
So the motion is for a resolution.
It's to send it forward to apply for the grant, the Better Connections. It's more than a step one process. Erin, do you want to explain more about it?
Yeah, so the Better Connections grant is an opportunity, and Logan explains this better because he's on boards and stuff for this, so I'm gonna just take a jab at it. It's an opportunity for us to have funding to look at the whole downtown kind of area and connect the dots with everything. So we've had a bunch of small studies done, but we don't have a concrete master plan. And I'm kind of going off of what like Springfield and Chester have done. Springfield has a whole downtown master plan. Chester has a whole village master plan that encompasses pedestrian safety, safe access, sight zones when you're pulling out of the driveway, parking, just really spurring the economic development too. So it incorporates everything that's included in a master plan, and something we will all be working on together. And it involves a lot of outreach, but it will also provide funding for engineers to come in and give us an opportunity to look at future grants. And that way we'll have one centralized document that will kind of lead us to future opportunities as well, that we can lean on this master plan.
This step one, step two would actually fund the things we want to put in there.
Yeah.
Which is the first time I've seen anything that actually funds anything. It doesn't just make plans.
So this is a grant, correct?
Yeah.
Is that something Cherry can help with?
Jerry is helping.
Cherry and I
okay.
started the
Yeah.
process.
Good point.
Yeah,
Okay,
Cherry and I
thank
started
you.
the process, and then it went to, Erin jumped in, and these two ladies from the state that we had to do a pre-application. So Cherry and I did the pre-application, and then we set up a meeting with Erin and these two ladies from the state, and they told us, how to get it right, basically. We told them what we wanted and what we had so far, and they gave us a lot of advice about that. In fact, they said that we could take it back to them, and they would even, look at it again and make sure they wanted numbers and stuff, like we talked about possible areas in town where we could have a parking lot. Like I did some research on the Ellison block, and it's for sale for $749,000, and they're really interested in not just putting in a parking lot, but also like having a picnic area maybe there, some other way to attract you to the spot, and maybe some information about the village and the history of the river or whatever, and also bike racks. And it's from the transportation department of the state, which is what Logan works for. So a lot of it is about transportation and the ease of moving around town.
ACCD.
Do you want a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To sign the resolution, let me sign the
Okay.
resolution.
Okay, I'll make a motion to allow our chair to sign a resolution for the Better
Oh, wait a minute.
Connections.
Oh, geez, I'm all screwed up.
No, okay, I won't.
No,
make
this is how I'm screwed up. it needs to be added to the agenda first. So we need to add to
Oh,
the
okay.
agenda to
I'll make a
sign,
motion
yeah.
to amend the agenda to include the Better Connections grant resolution.
I'll
Which I
second.
have right here.
okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'll make a motion
Do you
to
wanna give it a
accept the
number?
new agenda as changed.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, now it is part of the agenda.
What number is it going to be?
Let's make it number 4 and bump all the other numbers since we just discussed it, so we can just roll ahead, I hope.
Well, 4 is approval of minutes.
Right, so we'll just make that number 5.
Okay.
Okay?
Got it.
Okay, so now I'll entertain a motion to allow the chair to sign the resolution now that it's part of our agenda.
I make a motion for the chair to sign a resolution for the Better Connections grant application.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Jared, I know you wanted to add that thing about signage. Were you interested in doing that? Because I don't see Chuck Weiss and I don't see Julie Hance, so I don't know if they're coming. So we have more time than I anticipated.
I believe our sign regulations need to be updated, yes.
Okay, can we look at that when we talk about village stuff with Martha? Because right now we're just on the town stuff. Is that okay with you if we kind of postpone it a few months till we get to the changes to the village? Thank you.
Oh,
Yes, that's
there-
okay.
If, does that,
That's
Have
under
something-
comments from citizens, you want his comment?
No, we didn't get there yet. We're not on
Well, then-
citizens. I'm all
You-
mixed up.
Yeah.
We're on
All right,
minutes.
we are, this was number 4.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll bring it up under other business.
Okay.
I don't see other business on here.
And other business. It was, actually,
here
Better
we go.
Connections was on your agenda.
It was on the bottom.
What?
Oh, gosh.
There it is.
It's okay.
Wow, cool. Okay, well, we doubly did it. All right, so moving on to number 5, approval of minutes for September 16th, 2025. Did anybody have any?
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes for discussion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the minutes are approved. Comments from citizens, now number 6. Are there any comments?
Excuse me, the person from Okemo Valley TV, is there a gallery this evening?
There's no one in the Zoom.
Okay, yeah, because you wouldn't have known because it's not up.
Just where I
Oh, thank you.
talking about
Thank you very
signs. Comments
Okay.
on signs.
Sorry, I got something.
Yeah, no one.
So Better Connections, as I understand, pedestrian safety?
Pedestrian safety and parking, increased parking, and actually it's gonna be like a whole master plan for the village.
Yeah, so I guess that's where I was kind of getting at. If there's anything else, I don't know if there's something through CHIPS or as we kind of have these discussions, I think we can, we did the big paving project. Would have been awesome to have like some of this pedestrian safety like planned out. So hey, we're gonna, deal with the Dunkin' Donuts sign and that sidewalk while that project is going. And so if there's other things, infrastructure or these other pieces that may make sense, hey, we're gonna, do this sidewalk, we're gonna make this parking, maybe it can tie in with this other project and things like that. So I don't know if there's anything else with that, but it sounds like maybe Better Connections is something that kind of is more of that master plan.
Yeah, it's
that
kind of
can tie
been
some of
described
that
to me
stuff in.
today as the glue that kind of ties everything we wanna do into a cohesive plan for the village. Cause I did go to the trustees with our pedestrian safety stuff and they were on board, and Brendan said some of that stuff can happen this year. It doesn't even have to be budgeted for, but it hasn't happened yet. So I don't know what's going on with that. Like, he agreed to extend the sidewalk to the Mill Street Bridge. He agreed to have the sidewalk to the Shaw's Bridge. The lines and stuff got painted the way we wanted them painted because of that meeting and because of Logan. What else did we have on there? There were other things on there, but the parking was something we knew we needed an engineer for, so I was looking for funds for that.
So the parking to the Mill Street Bridge, there's parking on Mill Street sidewalks, on Mill Street. But there's also a stretch on Pleasant, Street that has no sidewalk.
That's what we
It
mean, the
ends.
one on Pleasant Street, because people are walking into the highway from the bridge, the walking bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the issue, we wanted a sidewalk that extended from Pleasant Street down to that bridge, so at least there was a sidewalk there. So people don't walk right out onto the road.
Right, but once you cross the bridge, you're back on the road again for a stretch before
Oh.
you
And
get to
there's-
another sidewalk.
And it doesn't appear to me to be wide enough to even add a sidewalk.
I know, I was looking at it today.
I think you'd have to make it like yield one way, like
Yeah,
almost like some of those old.
but that might be
bridges.
something that could go into this, when you're talking about pedestrian safety.
Oh, and it will, the sidewalk extensions is part of the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, any comments from citizens, any other comments? Okay, we'll move on to our next agenda.
I think
Yeah,
I would
Jared,
just like to
sorry.
reintroduce the proposition that we go over our sign regulations for the village
Okay,
and update them.
we're gonna make sure that's in an agenda when we're talking about the village.
Is there a village and town
They're
difference?
both two different regulations, and it's something that we even had to deal with today, so.
Do you guys think it should be two different regulations? Should be one?
Well, the thing is, if there's a town and village merger at some point,
That's-
there will
yeah.
only be one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to think about that while we're crafting the village sign ordinance.
I'd like to suggest that we not wait for 2 months.
Next month?
Mhm.
Okay, so when we talk
Great.
about next month's agenda, let's
So
add that,
November,
so November.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna skip number 6, because I don't see Julie or Chuck here. I probably should have reminded them, they did sign up for October, but maybe something happened, they're very busy. So we're gonna move on to number 7, which is future land use maps from Mark with Martha Harrison and Kelly Appleton.
Karen.
Kellen Appleton.
Yeah, so I think I've mentioned in the past that, you guys are aware of the whole future land use upgrade or mapping upgrade that the Regional Planning Commission is doing, which is going to affect all the towns. And depending on how the different areas are mapped, some of the areas will be exempt or partially exempt from Act 250. So we do have a draft future land use map, and I'm hoping that once everyone's happy with it and everyone agrees that the areas that are proposed for planned growth and or village areas, whatever you decide, you can then make your zoning map consistent with your future land use map, so that the new requirements through Act 47 and Act 181 can happen in zoning districts that are mapped for that. So basically, if that makes sense. And so Kellen is our
This is
planner.
Kellen. Okay, now I got it.
So good. Yeah, I've recently started working at Mark as their GIS planner, and so accordingly, I've made a bunch of maps. If you'd like them, I have a draft of the future land use draft that Mark's put together. Is this okay for me to put this?
Yeah, of course, yes. You put it on the wall if you want,
Oh, I could.
just temporarily.
Here, let's take out this three maps.
Yeah, the ones that are there,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
they're real important.
maybe you could put it on that wall, and see it better.
So
We can just turn our chairs around instead of way over there.
And then I will also say that Mount Escutney, the Regional Planning Commission does have an online story map that walks the Act 181 components very simply, and it explains it. And then, do we still have that map live? We haven't turned it off yet.
I think so.
Yeah, it's gotta still be live. Residents can go and place comments on a pin, like a online map pin. So I'm more than happy to, I got you. This was, something I was working on at the Regional Planning Commission as well, so that's something we can also potentially look at.
That's if I need to. They're really colorful.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're nice.
I can't take too much credit for it. The map colors are prescribed by law, so. Do you mind?
Need more text?
I just need the one. I just was hesitant to put it to the flag, but I'm gonna let you do that.
I'm going for it.
Go for it. Sweet. Yeah, so these are the draft future land use maps here. They are quite colorful. There's a legend in both of these. There's also here's 3 copies. Here. This is a copy of
Thank you.
a description of each of the land use categories. Sweet. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like one? I have a couple extras, maybe. I'll take a few.
Yes, please.
Yeah. There's one. And there's one over there. Sweet.
Oh, I like the tree.
Yeah, so we can do kind of brief overview here. I think as was just alluded to, the maybe most significant categories to be looking at here are downtowns, village centers, and planned growth areas, which are the categories which can be exempted or partially exempted from Acts 250 restrictions. Ludlow doesn't have any downtowns, so designated downtowns, so that's not a category that needs to be worried about. And you can kind of see here that there's this designated village center in the core where we're at right now, and it is surrounded in this pink color by a proposed planned growth area. The kind of idea with that is that these are places with existing dense development or with the capacity for dense development that have access to either water or sewer or both, and are able to reach the sort of core village center area using multimodal transportation. Mostly that corresponds to you should be able to walk to the center of the village from any of these areas that are in pink here. I would say that, and here's obviously a blown up version of that. I would say that what we have drafted right now in terms of planned growth areas is frankly a little expansive. And there are some areas that we're looking at here that may not have access to pedestrian facilities to the sort of village core. Thinking about these places on 100 South where there's not a lot of sidewalk, and some of these things that are a little farther out there. Yeah, any questions so far?
Well, currently, our main street is exempt from Act 250.
Mm-hmm.
And this just adds, if we wanted to, it would add more areas.
Correct, yes.
And we were trying to do that through applying for an NDA, but long story short, we didn't get approval for that.
Yes. Yeah, so this would be another opportunity or another way to do that.
Did you come up with this, or did we help in this process?
So
It's state driven.
yeah, so the methodology for which areas are which is given by the state Act 181 that was passed last year. There is a little bit of subjectivity to it though in some of the areas, and so this is why we're coming to ask for feedback. This is kind of a first or second draft of what where these categories might go from there.
Was it based on the fact that we wanted the NDA?
Not
the same areas identified?
Some
specifically.
of them look
Some of them
similar.
look similar, yeah.
Yeah.
I was not present for the NDA application, so some
So they're getting rid, there were 5 categories before for designation, including NDA, and they're getting rid of those 5 categories and they're boiling down to just 2. So you'll either have a center, which would be a village center or a downtown, and you'll have a planned growth or village area around the center. And provided that you meet the criteria, which are spelled out in the, what Helen handed out, then you would qualify for that. And once these maps are approved by the Land Use Review Board, which is another whole lengthy process, if Ludlow opts in for what's called Tier 1B, that's what would give you the Act 250 partial exemption. Or
And that ultimate decision, I understand, is from the select board. Or the
Right.
trustees,
It's a resolution.
or the trustees, if there's, we still have the trustees by the time that decision needs to be made.
there'll be a resolution they have to sign opting in and just certifying that you have the capability to review the development.
Has anybody seen, I've seen these because I go to the regional meetings, but has anybody else here seen these new designated areas? Because they can become part of your zoning, they don't, I've understood from the regional meetings, they don't have to become part of your zoning. And the select board makes the decision about whether we're tier 1A or tier 1B.
And then Terry, I just wanna make sure everybody here is aware that the tier 1B option was presented to the select board on October 6th. So they are aware of it,
Okay, good.
and just so we all understand that.
And moving forward on it.
Yes,
Yeah,
hopefully, yes.
that's where I was hoping we'd fall in the tier 1B.
Tier 1B is what gets approved when the maps get approved. If you wanna go to Tier 1A, the town separately would apply for that.
And tier 1A is basically your free-for-all, like basically everything's exempt from Act 250.
It's really, tier 1A is really made for like Rutland City,
Yeah.
Burlington, like they have like building inspectors on board, you know, just
Mhm.
things like that. At this point, I, as the town planner, wouldn't recommend tier 1A just yet.
Yeah, I didn't
So.
recommend it after watching everything.
Yeah.
I liked some of the categories that we've never seen before in town zoning. As far as the town goes, like the rural areas can have categories for conservation and forestry and agriculture, which we don't really have those categories now.
Yeah, if you want to talk a little bit more about the rural areas, yeah, it's the three categories you just described. There's conservation, which is shown in dark green here. There's agriculture and forestry areas, which are meant to be sort of larger, intact areas, which you can still do agriculture and forestry on. And then the rural general, which is basically low density residential or anything else that would be in a rural area that isn't agriculture and forestry or conservation. And so we've gotten some feedback from some other towns that people would like to dig in a little deeper to the three different categories there. You're welcome to give some feedback on that if you like. I would say there's not a ton of consequential difference between the three categories in terms of what legislatively that does for anyone. So we can talk about that if you all want to, or we can just kind of let it ride if it seems like it makes sense to you all. The other categories that I would love to mention while we're here, this sort of light green, up on the mountain here, this is that resource-based recreation that's designed for essentially ski areas, which is what it's mapped as here. And then there's this enterprise area over here, which is essentially an industrial equivalent zone.
And that's in our industrial park already, so it's located.
I believe
Yeah,
that's
sure
yes.
looks like
Cool,
it.
Thank you. Yeah. Those are the other
And
categories.
what's the one down on the right-hand corner there?
Where at? Right here?
Yeah.
That's also one.
This is this same industrial zone. So one of the quirks of the methodology here is where possible, the state has asked us to map the different categories to parcel lines. And you can see that this big area of enterprise here are pretty much just two massive parcels.
I think
And so,
that's a talc mine.
because that's the top line.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And then there's these smaller ones here.
And is the new sewer location at the end of Pleasant Street Extension, is that in here as an industrial area?
That would be in that industrial park.
And it's all within that?
Yeah.
Up that hill?
Because it would be behind Lavalley's and Geldwind,
Yeah.
which is right there.
One thing that I will note that, again, this is an ongoing process, we kind of discovered in the methodology today, is that you are not supposed to map things as enterprise that are adjacent to planned growth areas. So we're going to have to figure out how we want to map this, whether that gets incorporated into these sorts of things, it becomes a rural general sort of thing.
Say that again.
Yes, because enterprise areas enterprise areas are intended to be away from planned growth areas and areas of significant residential development. We are asked not to map enterprise areas next to planned growth areas. And so if this planned growth area stays this extensive out through Pleasant Street extension here, then we may have to rethink this specific designation. But that's something that, yeah, it's something we'll have to do.
And obviously, this was all decided looking at our floodways, flood zones.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Helen?
Yes.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So in the future, we have planned on moving our wastewater treatment facility plant to that enterprise area.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Up on the
And
hill.
so how would that affect its change of status from the enterprise area to, say, the planned growth area or another
I don't believe
category?
that it would have any impact on that.
Yeah.
Um,
Would be fine.
Because it's a municipal use,
Okay, so
So-
because it's almost
we kind
exempt
of,
in itself.
to a degree.
And then one more question, what is the criteria for the possible expansion of the village center? And would that benefit the town in any way? Because it seems to be much of the village commercial zone we have now, but constricted more. So I'm almost seeing that the village center might, or maybe should be expanded up towards High Street or all along Pleasant Street, something that may give us a little more growth in the future for a downtown village designation. So what's the criteria that enables us to expand or contract that one category area?
Frankly, I'm not super sure. I think my understanding and what we're working with this though is that there, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe that there's a strong difference between the implications of Act 191 on planned growth areas versus village centers. And so I think you could do that and we could look into expanding the designated village center if we would like. But I'm not sure that it would buy you anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that was my question, in a sense.
It's a great
One
question
of the
though.
things is historic nature, so
Mhm.
there are a lot of historic buildings adjacent to your current village and, we could look at expanding it, but
Part of the reason they're still differentiated here is because the requirements for planned growth area include things like zoning, but the village center does not. It's a different designation. So if you look at Cavendish, for instance, which doesn't have zoning, you can see that they do have these designated village centers in Cavendish and Proctorville, but they aren't permitted to map things as planned growth areas around it. So that would be a place where that might come into play. But in Ludlow, where you all have extensive zoning, that's not necessarily a problem.
Thank you.
So all of the paint would be exempt from Act 250?
Partially.
Partially exempt.
Partially exempt.
Which,
Get it closer.
What does partially exempt?
It's, it is, from my understanding, and I don't have anything in front of me right now, it's 50 units on 10 acres or less. So, housing. And there's very strict definitions of like mixed income year-round housing.
Jeannie Plumley Lavender's in here.
Jason's worried about, I guess the sidewalk ends more
Yeah,
closer in. He's worried about including this.
yeah, me too.
Whether it will even be, they'd allow it to be included because it's not very walkable.
Yeah,
It's not. Where's
Far
the
away,
bridge?
there's no sidewalk.
the bridge is here, I think. Yeah,
Right,
because here's
right there,
Parker
yeah.
Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Martha,
So-
for the record, because you were talking and I couldn't even hear, what did you say about that area?
Oh, Jason, our executive director, is concerned about including this because.
So how do we not get it included? By commenting online or commenting to you right now?
Well, if you agree that you're reluctant to include that, we can just take it out.
Yeah, I'm
But
reluctant to
even-
include that. There's no sidewalks, it's treacherous.
Right.
So what is, like, when I think of planned growth area, it's, hey, this is a great opportunity. I see, like, up McGinnis, or whatever they're at Pleasant Street Extension, like,
Yep.
that is a far walk. But Andover, that seems like an area where, hey, let's get sidewalks, let's
Yeah,
let's
maybe
make
need
that
sidewalks.
thinking,
Right.
get
Walkability.
sidewalks,
so that
instead of saying we can't.
it could be
Yeah,
something where, hey, we do wanna develop this, cool, that project comes along, now we're gonna extend sidewalk, or, and I see this, a similar thing kind of as you head up South Hill before it gets to the town farm, South Hill split there, like there's a bunch of that forestry land where, again, that's much closer as far as
Show me where South
walkability.
Hill is, where's South Hill? Oh, right here?
So-
Like all that forest land, like right behind on Pleasant Street and stuff, like it's complicated, but Jared and I were just looking at those two those side roads that kind of parallel the railroad tracks there. If you got something to work there, like that could be a great opportunity for housing that's close and easier to connect than it would be some of these other areas.
There's also the water and sewer. Do you have water and sewer service in those areas? And if, I'm not as familiar with Ludlow, but if you're talking like in here.
Yeah.
I don't believe we do have a separate
I don't think
for
there
water
are,
and sewer.
there's water, sewer.
There's not.
Jerry,
Yeah.
Does
hand me
work.
my
It just goes
glasses
up a
that
little
are-
bit on
South
South Hill, right?
South Hill.
Yeah.
Not very far.
I think it's also worth pointing out that some of these areas, so yeah, the requirement here being water, sewer, and essentially sidewalks or walkable streets, as you were saying. In order to be designated as a village area, those either have to be extant or they have to be planned in some formal capacity. That being said, there is a process where if those things are planned or installed later on, we can amend what the planned growth area is and include that in there. So if that's something that the town is
I know
Interesting.
that this area, they have wanted to develop it, but there's a 50-foot right-of-way issue as to why it cannot be developed in the Large Heights area. Yeah, behind Twine Hill,
Yeah.
behind Twine
Yeah.
Road.
So like that seems like a better area to potentially develop than all the way on the other end of Pleasant Street as far as walkability, proximity to town. Obviously, there's some challenges there, but
You had these maps at the select board meeting?
no.
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 You just had the explanation
We
of all
we
the
had
areas?
paid, whatever,
Jason,
the something B,
tier 1B.
Tier
Tier
1B, yes,
1B,
kind of like,
yeah.
hey, this is a housing thing, it doesn't,
Yeah.
if we said, hey, we wanna do this, it doesn't say, hey, they can put up a big shopping mall, somewhere where we didn't want it, but it was housing and you strongly recommended moving forward with that.
So, can we go back to sidewalks on
Plumley
Route
Avenue?
100 or up Andover Street? Because the bridge that's already constructed
Yeah.
isn't wide enough for a sidewalk.
No.
And then the road going up further on Route 100, south actually, the road just isn't wide enough to accommodate a sidewalk.
It's
There's a
dangerous,
bank
'cause that's where
there
my
and
mechanic was,
so-
and I had to walk there a
so,
lot.
well, I think in order to develop any further up that street, you need a sidewalk, but I don't know how you'd engineer that.
Oh, what
I
about
guess.
Plumley Avenue before the bridge? That's Plumley Avenue, right? That little road
Yeah.
that goes to the
Just
left?
before the bridge,
Yeah. That might be a.
And I guess, I don't know how it works, but if someone said, hey, we wanna put 50 units in this area, is that worth the town looking at widening that bridge?
Oh.
Probably. So I guess, I don't know, is it something that, I think we've gone down these things where, hey, we become this new designation or something like that, but if we limit it so much where it's, so small that there's not really a project that would even fit in that area,
I hope you don't just look at new construction though too. I hope we're also looking at fixing up like old buildings and stuff.
but I don't think that would be the 181.
To jump on what Noah said, like with the bridge. I mean, I've seen bridges where it's a bridge and then next to it is like an enclosed walkway,
Pedestrian sidewalk.
a pedestrian sidewalk.
Seems like
Pedestrian
a
bridge.
lot
Right.
cheaper than putting in a
Yeah,
whole
that's
new
what they
bridge.
have, like say in Queechee, other places like that, and that would be
Manchester.
doable.
Yeah.
instead of
Queechee.
reconstructing a bridge and a whole lot cheaper.
And that's in Queechee, so people don't jump too.
Well, yeah, but still, you know, I can picture it exactly what Jean said, but I could also picture a pedestrian walkway adjacent to it to go
But-
along there.
But I think that that plan has to be in place before you have the development up there, which is what we're talking about.
One thing you can do with your better connections, if you're so inclined,
Yes.
is to look at, come up with something that you're comfortable with now based on your
Yes.
existing infrastructure and
Yeah.
then look at, well, what would we need to do to push that out a
Yes.
little bit
Yeah.
further?
Excellent.
Aaron, I'm curious if you, because I think this might have come from you when we were mapping this. Can you remind me what this parcel is there? I think we chose
It's
to
a
include
big
it.
vacant lot.
Okay.
That has opportunities for housing and development, so that's.
Which one's
That's down the end of your street,
It's this large pink spot at the end of
and it's not in the
Pleasant Street,
industrial area?
I'm not sure. I
So
can't
it's
recall.
between the railroad tracks and the road?
I don't think it's in the industrial area. Somebody
Yeah.
called me about that lot about a week ago
Mm-hmm.
and asked how they could access it.
Okay,
So it's on somebody's radar.
It's got a driveway.
it's flat, I know that, because we
Yeah.
walk along the railroad tracks and look down on it.
So Jason was concerned about that too, because of the walkability issue. I think there is water out there, but not sewer.
Okay.
But there's no sidewalks.
Yeah, there's water out there. Yeah, I guess the argument for that would, to include this would be, you'd have to say, consider Pleasant Street to be a walkable access to downtown. Which I think that argument could be made. But I think that's.
So as we go through
Penn Street
this
Extension, you mean?
process
Thank you.
of like planning and stuff, if someone, wanted to develop that and say, hey, we're gonna put 250 units out there,
Mhm.
it's probably in the town's best interest to say, hey, we're gonna run a quarter mile of sewer to make this project come off, happen. Is there anything that we can kind of put in some of our, maybe it's the town plan or some of these things that we would be interested in exploring, expanding sewer to certain areas or expanding sidewalks or things like that to help future projects like that?
Likely chip.
Yeah.
So the chip is still really new. I'm going to the fall planning and zoning forum hosted by VLCT tomorrow in Montpelier during the morning. And they're gonna be talking about the chip program in depth. So I will hopefully have a lot more answers as to the progress of it, and how we can get involved with it. Because it's kind of like the new catalyst on top of Act 181, the chip bill is the next big thing for infrastructure, to fund infrastructure for housing.
250 units, that would not be exempt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Well, even so.
I don't put down a lot of these.
He's trying to get our goal done in one
Yeah,
project.
Yeah.
What does CHIP stand for?
Community Housing Infrastructure Program or Improvement Program. I feel like it's infrastructure.
It's a tax increment financing way to fund sewer line extensions, water
Oh,
extensions, treatment plant upgrades, stuff like
is
that.
the new septic plan gonna increase capacity? No, that, that Brendan's working on?
They said it can.
It can, and I don't think we're anywhere close to being at capacity.
We're not.
Oh,
I
okay.
think
Yeah.
we're like 60%.
We're like halfway.
Yeah.
I've talked to Joe about it.
Not
and
even
roughly,
after the flood.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, the springs are running well. They're hardly running the pumps at all and stuff like that.
which is great.
Yeah, that is great.
It'll be more efficient also. So in that regard, it can,
If it gets moved.
oh, it will. Eventually.
Yeah, $26 million.
Eventually it will. 10 years.
What? Are you gonna lose it?
Virtually, yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments that I can answer about this draft while it's up here? I mean, it'll stay up here unless you take it down. I'm not gonna take it with me, so.
Oh, good.
Oh, good. You like it.
Good, yeah.
Great.
Why don't you take one of those old ones, quick?
Alright, yeah, great.
Really, and put it over there, serious.
And then I would love if everybody on the planning commission had an opportunity to take a look at the story map that Mount Scottney Regional Commission created as well. We'll send it out via email in the morning, or
Sure, yeah.
I don't have the link active right
I
now.
also don't have the one.
And there's a tab where you can view the map and then provide comments on what you wanna see.
Yeah, I wanna do
So-
that.
It's a great, maybe we can even post it on our website.
Other thing that I will say while I'm here, and this maybe segues into talking about zoning as well, is there's this map up here that reflects the village and the town's zoning in the areas where there is water and sewer currently. And you can see there's these little buffers around where water and sewer currently exists. If you would like to, because that is informing many of the categories that are there, there is, well, both this map, you can compare them, and then I'll just leave this here, which is the link to an online map that you can toggle the sewer and water and zoning and future land use drafts back and forth and get a little bit more comparison if anyone would like to do that. And I can also follow up in the email tomorrow as well.
Did you get it?
Yes.
I wanna get it. What does FLU stand for?
Future land use.
Yeah, I thought it was something to do with floods. Fluid.
Are these maps available online?
They're on that link, yeah, great.
Do you have one with the VR2 designation or village residential 2?
You don't have
Kellen took our existing zoning map, and then the online map also has our river corridor and flood hazard areas as an overlay, and we were trying to put it on a PDF, but it was too noisy. So Kellen went out of her way to create a beautiful online map that you can toggle the layers on and off to see not only where our infrastructure is, but also where it's in the flood zone or river corridor. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
I'd recommend viewing it on a desktop computer if you can. I will send a link, like I said, in the email, or there's that shortened URL there as well. Well, or a laptop, just not a phone.
Oh, cool.
This way. Cool. Thank you.
It'll stop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as far as segueing into zoning, just, once you're happy with this and you've decided to opt in to what you have here, then just, I think it makes sense to revise your zoning map so that it's, complementary. So for example, that, I don't know exactly where on this map where the village stops and the town starts, but you have your town residential district, which I think is 2 to 3 acre minimum lot size. So that wouldn't really be compatible with the increased density for the planned growth area, for example. So I just wanted to have you look at this first and get to a place where you're comfortable with the planned growth area. And then we can look at the zoning map and revise it so that it's compatible. And also, I think I mentioned before, your zoning map currently cuts off like lots. Like some lots are just bisected in half in one district, half in the other district. And it might make sense to just have them follow the parcel lines.
Is that because of the town village line? Do you think, or is that just the district area?
I think it's in the town village line and also the districts.
Okay.
So if the town and village merged, would it be easier to move those lines? You know what I mean? Like if you're in the town, you have to have the 2 whatever acres to build, but in the village you don't. So that if you wanted to increase density in the village area, could you shift it a little bit into where like there are some town things now? Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah, and each of these areas has different density too. Each of
Right.
these colors.
Right.
Right. So I think once
So it might
you-
be that we have to redraw the lines a little bit if we go through
But we
all
got a lot
this.
of work to do with the town and the village merge, which they
I
probably are.
know, that's what I mean,
Which-
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
We have a lot of work to do.
and we
That
have
would
a
be the time to do it.
2-year grant period.
Yeah, right.
Correct all those bisected lots that are half in the town and
Right,
half in the
yeah.
village.
That's what I'm saying, that would be a lot easier if we were merged to be able to.
A lot of things would be a lot easier.
A lot of things will be a lot less
Well, you'd be
expensive.
forced to anyway with those bisected lots.
Yes,
You
exactly.
have to do something.
Why is there like
It's either
little,
or.
why is there like little things like this? Is it because
I
of
had a
hills or
friend whose
something?
house was half in one town and half in the other.
I believe that's
That's
what lot
true.
that you're pointing out right now is the cemetery.
Oh, yeah, that's a cemetery.
So I don't know exactly why it's shaped that way, but that's what
Where?
the lot is.
The cemetery is a planned growth area?
No, is it?
Yeah, they have room for more housing.
Oh, Doug's gonna love that.
It is considered the cemetery. That is the standard that that all of the RPCs are using for mapping cemeteries. If they are mostly surrounded by planned growth area, they're just simply mapping them as planned growth area.
Even though
Obviously, I don't think anyone's intending to build any housing
Yeah.
in the cemetery.
Yeah, but they're expanding the lot
Is
sales.
that like a pond? I wonder why that is shaped like that.
I think that's their back little yard that they have their stuff at.
Yeah, it's sort of
Oh, yeah,
store.
Cause it goes right on the
then it
edge
goes on the trail.
to the trail.
Yeah,
to the
to
golf
the
course.
Fox Run, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I know when we did the village, at the time, I think we thought that sewer and water served all the lots in the village. And when we were doing this exercise, we discovered that that's not necessarily the case. So when they merge, you may also want to tweak some of those districts or regulations so that they comply with whether or not there's water and sewer, the density. I mean, I think it would be good in the long run to have a high-density residential district that corresponds with your planned growth area and that crosses that village-town line, that's consistent with this pink area. But,
And that's something that Logan brought up at one point of having like, maybe it makes sense to have a Main Street district where, you know, that's where you want the real density.
Well, yeah,
and-
that's what I
and
hope we
allowing
did
certain
in the last-
things to happen that maybe we don't want that on Pleasant Street, but
Yeah.
maybe fine on Main Street or
Well, I'm
already
gonna tell you right
exists on
now,
Main
if
Street.
people on Pleasant Street knew that whole half of the street was zoned commercial. I told Erin that today and she's like, what? I mean, Jenny Snyder, once I mentioned it to her and she's like, what? There could be a gas station next to my house? She was like, you gotta change that. But she hasn't showed up at any meetings and said that, but that whole side is zoned commercial. Of
with,
Pleasant
on
Street.
Ginny's side?
Yeah, Ginny's side. Yeah, I tried to get it to change it,
How
but
far
everybody
down
agreed-
does it
people didn't agree
commercial?
with me when I brought it up. It's just from Depot Street to to United Church.
That whole thing is
Just that
commercial?
side of the street,
That's
not the other side of
commercial?
the street.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, are single-family homes permitted in the commercial zoning? They are.
They are, they're there.
Well, or they're existing non-compliant, right? Like if it was zoned
Yeah.
after.
No, they definitely are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
And there's a bunch of apartment
It's
buildings
just one of them.
on that side of the street, but there's nothing commercial on that side of the street, not one thing.
Yeah.
There used to be a flower shop, and that was the only thing that I ever knew that was commercial.
I remember that conversation a long time ago, and it had to do with parking at that time and the availability of what might be public parking between Main Street and Pleasant Street. And it was felt, this was a long time ago, it was felt that that would be an area that could complement Main Street and have a business, and that the parking would be accessible and walking to what might be businesses on that street because of the way Main Street is constructed.
Well, yeah, Ryan was one of the people that didn't want to change it because he said that it's the backside of Main Street. So commercial stuff could drift over there, but I'm just saying the people who live on the street would not be in favor of that. The ones I've talked to.
So hopefully Martha's helping us update our bylaws to meet statutes. And then the next step, I think, as we're doing our town plan updates, start looking at our bylaws and bringing it up to 2025, 2026, what we're seeing, so.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Cal, nice to meet you. Zoning updates with Martha Harrison from Mark.
Yeah, so last time, I thought we were primarily gonna be looking at the map, so I didn't do a lot other than
Yeah, you
finish.
didn't send me anything, so I figured that's what was going on.
Yeah, I finished going through the definitions. There was there were a couple things that I reached out to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns about, windmills and well shields, and I have to pull up their response. Exactly.
Well shields has been a big issue lately.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Well shields is like the area around a person's well that is protected, but it may go into somebody else's land. And now people are like trying to subdivide into people's well shields because they're trying to get as much development out of their piece of land that they own that they possibly can.
Gotcha.
So you don't want people in your well shield. You don't want a house in your well shield.
I would have sent that, but I just wasn't sure we were gonna be talking about that today, so.
DRB says no.
Yeah, I think that's gonna end up in environmental court.
Okay, for the well shields. So you guys require that the well shield has to be located entirely on the same property as the well, which goes beyond what the state requires. I couldn't find anything in chapter 117 that would allow the town to be more strict than the state in this regard, so,
What does the state say about well shields?
pardon?
What does it say about well shields? Like, just
In
they have
your
much,
regulations?
yeah, they have a much smaller
The state
area that they require, or they require no area?
What does the state require?
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's 100 feet or 200 feet.
Okay, so they do
around.
require something.
They do.
And what do we require?
You just require it to be all on the same property,
Oh, okay.
whereas right now
Okay.
it can cross onto a property line as long as the person who's putting in the well informs the person who's adjacent.
And has to get their okay or not?
Do not have to get there.
You don't have to get their okay, you just have to
Just
tell
has to
them you're
inform.
in their well shield.
Um,
Yeah, why? So I have a piece of property in Cavendish. We did the septic stuff, so a little different, but there was, in that design, there's a certain area that it goes into the neighbor's property. I don't know about the well, but that was the only way to make a septic system work on that. Is there a reason why you want to be more? It's
Chuck.
better.
Here's
Chuck
Chuck.
Weiss.
Hi, Chuck.
Can't hear you, Joe.
Hello,
Hi, how are ya?
doing well. Sorry for being late. I was making all these changes that Martha has on my zoning, and I just lost track of time.
What did you want to finish, Noah?
We can pick it up after this, yeah.
Okay. Chuck, can we jump back in our agenda to you? Are you okay with
Thank you.
sharing your housing success story?
We're trying everything right now to incentivize housing. The changes we made recently in the zoning, which we're hoping to get adopted this winter, really looks at using density as a bonus. So if you go into housing that has been substantially damaged, whether it's flood related, economic, or anything like that, you're gonna get density bonuses for it. We're looking at, this is somewhat controversial, but people like the idea that you could go into a lot, and this is zoning changes, where resource extraction, so you go in, you take out material, and you prep a lot for development. We would only have site plan review conditions. So in this scenario, some of the lots that we have that have been undeveloped, these have to be under 10 acres, because you're not going to qualify for 50. You can come in there, remove $200,000 to $800,000 worth of material, and then render that site, developable for residential. And we would require, as part of the resource extraction permit, that you would also apply for a planned unit development for residential, so that the two are connected. That you go in there, you take the equity out of that site, in this case gravel or ledge, or that the end result, the public gets something out of it, which is additional housing. And we're keeping it small scale by limiting it. So you would have this window of 5 years to do all that. So that excludes any bigger hopes for quarries or anything like that. We've never, because gravel pits and things like that can be extremely controversial. We've been floating this idea, and people are receptive to it, the majority, if they understand there's time limitations. So you come in for a very discrete amount of time, and that's it. So there's a couple of other nuggets like that, but I'm going to stop talking and entertain questions. But we're really looking at our ordinance as a way to incentivize residential construction.
Chuck, will you explain the whole thing you did to the Regional Planning Commission about how you had that developers invitational meeting, and you met that guy from Connecticut, and he's refurbishing the downtown and also the lot on the way to the high school, putting in the 5 apartment buildings?
Yeah, and so we're going to be doing our third deal this month. This gentleman is an architect who's interested in developing. He's one of the ones that gave me the earth resource extraction idea, because he can't get some of these development projects to pencil. And we have no shortage of people, equity, interested in investing. They just need to see that the investment's going to pay off. So in this case, this gentleman, our first relationship was in a downtown building, and I was able to work with him to write a permit that the Development Review Board accepted, where he could do short-term rentals and market-based housing on a second and third floor of a downtown building. Flexibility allowed him to basically make the project financially feasible. Because imagine this scenario, you're fixing the building, and then you get 1 or 2 units ready. You need those units to earn money, so you do short-term rentals for a while. But you know there's going to be major construction happening again on the same building. So because you're doing short-term rentals, you don't have to worry about kicking people out for 2 months or whatever to do major, other additional improvements to the building. So in that case, he's able to, probably the first couple of years, do short-term rental, because he's going to need the money. He's going to have to be able to show, his investors that, the bleed on this is not as, as great. So there's a case of where the zoning decision gave him a lot of flexibility to pick and choose as he's developing this. Because his downtown building is realistically it's a 7-year construction project. So that's our first development together. The second one was these modular homes. You start with a very small, like 1,200 square foot single family detached home. Because there's a modularity to it, you can add rooms to the house, like an old New England concept, but in this case, the design that he built, you could just, as you get more money, you could add additional bedrooms to add to the structure. That the base structure itself would be a very minimal square footage. And there, what I liked about his single family detached homes was the barrier to entry was a lot. That you would be able to purchase the place then wait for your money to, reaccrue and then start adding as you could. So that at the end of 20 years or 30 years, you would actually have 2,500 or 30,000 square foot, even though you started at like, that's a cool concept. The third project we're doing right now, which I'm nervous, is, we're looking at 60 units right adjacent to our downtown. And later this week on Thursday night, the Development Review Board and I, we're gonna use planned unit development. I can say anything about that. Make sure you look at your PUD standards and do they have enough flexibility there? Because you're gonna wanna give as much authority as you can to the Development Review Board to make some decisions that are unique to that. But we're looking at 60 units and we're gonna try to qualify for the Act 250 exemption. So on Thursday, we do a mock rehearsal where everybody pretends like they're participating in a public hearing, we give our presentation. And then at the end of that, the DRB pretends like they're, they go through their process to identify any weaknesses. So that when we actually have public hearing in December, we've already, done a trial run so that everybody's prepared. Because at the end of the day, we have to bring this material, the local permit, to the Land Use Review Board and say, we want a jurisdictional opinion that says we're Act 250 exempt. We want to make sure that we're like dealt when we ask that we have no mistakes in our process. They can point to and maybe justify that we don't follow the exemption. We're not taking anything for granted. We're not assuming that JO is just going to be automatically great. We want to make sure we do our best on that. So we have the downtown project, which is typified by maximum flexibility, how the decision was written, that he could do all these options, any and all the above. We have the single family detached things, which reduces barrier to entry, but eventually people can add. We have this 60 unit housing project, which, the future on that remains to be determined. And then we have this long-term view where we could do, let's say in some of our rural areas, concentrated, but with earth resource extraction.
But when you're
How's that
talking,
for a mouthful?
with the earth resource extraction, we're not talking ever brownfields, we're just talking lead or gravel?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah. Ledge product or gravel product.
ledge, not lead.
Yeah, see, you come into like a 2 to 3 acre, maybe even a 5 acre, that's probably pushing a 5 acre. But you go in there and you pull those, that material out, and you're only there for a couple of years, and then you require the contractor to put the site back exactly the way it was. So they have to have a reclamation plan. It's just gonna be lower, right? So you start at a certain elevation and then you just drop down 20 feet, 30 feet, whatever, how much material is down there where you're gonna set up the grade. Hope is with that design, those design parameters, you're effectively, if you didn't know the site before, you're not gonna be able to tell that there was any extraction there, which is the exact opposite thing that happens when we see quarries. You know exactly what that land use was prior to it being, mined. Because it looks like an abandoned quarry, and that's what we're trying to.
So the 60 unit thing is that trailer park on the way up to the high school?
Oh, very good. Pando's Way,
Trailer park?
yes.
Yeah. Judy, on the way up to the high school,
It's
that
a-
little trailer park, I brought kids home there before from school. They missed the
So
bus.
if you're going up
If you're going up that
South Hill,
South Street.
South Street.
Yeah.
It's on the.
right there to the right, there's
Right
that
to the right.
trailer park.
Yeah, okay.
And they're gonna put a 5 apartment building, but mixed use so that, they have some affordable, they have some retail, right? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's mixed.
It's
but
mixed, yeah.
Imagine each building has studio, 1 bedroom, 2
Oh,
bedroom,
that's right, different sizes, but different,
market-based and affordable.
that's what I mean,
So
market based and
five
Yeah.
buildings?
5 buildings.
Six, we got a 6th one in there, which I got super excited about, and that just happened.
Oh, okay,
So
Okay.
each one of those buildings, because we're looking at, it was like 500,000 a building. They're building them cheaper, but they're still Just the first 4 buildings is gonna be upwards of 2 million. And that's all private money.
Wow.
Because they're gonna make profit on some of them and some of the others are gonna be affordable.
But let's do the numbers. If you had, they're gonna be in it just for local permitting for 100 grand. It's the combination of your architecture work and your civil engineering. We could have doubled that or tripled it if they had to go to Act 250. So they're taking a big risk that we're gonna stay local and they're only gonna spend 100 for the permitting, because if they had to go the full enchilada, it probably wouldn't happen because it'd just be too much overhead and too much uncertainty. Because the fear would be is that you go in front of Act 250 and the additional scrutiny means that you have to back density, and density was the only thing paying for the party.
Interesting.
Yeah, I told them I wish we could clone that developer they found.
Yeah.
But did that developer come from that meeting you had, that like 12 o'clock noon meeting on a Saturday? That you had at the town hall?
Yeah, some of these relationships have grown over a couple of years, so there's no one thing that happens.
Okay.
In terms of the developer you mentioned, he came in and it felt more like a job interview. I mean, I get what he was trying to do. He was trying to generate some enthusiasm. I actually have been working with him when he first started. And so he's one type of developer. We have more civically minded folks that I feel more comfortable working with and more local. He comes from Massachusetts, now is in Rutland. So, he gave a great presentation, don't get me wrong. It's our local folks that I'm more interested in. And those people, when they're leveraged with equity, I think it's going to be on the counter. Teenagers sprint to bake. Been encouraging her to bake healthy. It's on the counter, sweetie. So yeah, there's a lot of equity out there. I don't think you have to really work too hard to find the equity.
Chuck, how hard is it to make the numbers work? Obviously with this, with that project, getting away from the Act 250 was a big plus. Are you guys helping with any infrastructure or any of that development aside from working with them to get this rolling?
So I think I've seen like maybe a half dozen of these financial assessments. They cost about $1,000 to $1,500 when they go and they look at a parcel, they chop it up. And as scary as it sounds, is that some of these projects are in the red, and it assumes that the municipality would help out with all the infrastructure, or it doesn't even include the infrastructure. So most of these projects don't pencil; they're just not profitable. So we've got to figure out a way to try to bring more money into that development proposal. So to answer your question directly, I think it's very rare. The only reason South Street is working is because all they have to do is plug and play. It's right. Our main infrastructure is right there. The main lines for water and sewer is right, next to that site. So it makes it super easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all flowing downhill going towards the sewer plant, for instance. If you had sites, I think it's, Aaron and I could talk this through and approach those folks, because they create, it's like a prospectus, heck of a better term. And architects and engineers do that, and that's what they use to try to get equity groups interested in it, if they can show a return on investment. Actually, this is Erin's background, but she knows more about this idea.
And one other thing, you mentioned flexibility for the DRB, and do you mean the flexibility to say, hey, this isn't really allowed, but the way that this is written, it gives them the ability to say, yes, we're gonna allow this because you're doing XYZ, like the short-term rental, market value rents for that downtown project. Hey, we don't really allow you to do this, but we're gonna let you do it because down the road you're gonna do this, or what do you exactly mean for that flexibility?
Yeah, it was already allowed, but you had like this thought structure. People were stuck in their ways that if, we issue you a permit for rental units, if you want to change the short term, you got to come back to the DRB. Or, like it was all allowable, but nobody had ever thought, why don't we just structure this decision so it almost looks like a buffet? And he can pick from each one of those options. And that was just a way of thinking that we hadn't really considered before. But he doesn't have to reapproach us. It was all allowed. We didn't have to bend rules or break rules or, or kind of push things. It was all within their jurisdiction with their responsibilities. It was just structuring a decision in a unique way.
To make it happen.
Yeah, he could tell his financiers, like, look, we're not gonna worry. If this, we need to be flexible, we need to be nimble. The way they wrote this decision, we already have permission, so you're not gonna have to worry. We even gave them flexibility on the first floor so that if they found a better tenant for retail and retail had to take more square footage, or if they, the restaurant wanted to take more, we allowed flexibility there as well. Because we were looking at performance standards like traffic control and impact on communities, facilities, and services, and we were able to argue in the decision intelligently that said, well, it really doesn't matter what kind of business it is. There's no compelling public interest to require this person to come back before the board. But we've all attended those boards where the minutiae is being debated and the decision's so tight, so narrow. They can only do that one thing. So 2 years from now, if that one thing's not possible, they gotta go back before the board, which might be a different group of people with a different review. We just gave them everything was allowable. It was a long decision, don't get me wrong, it beats the law of right. But you gave them every allowable use in the current ordinance.
That's interesting.
And was that a shift in the mindset of your DRB or the way you're kind of approaching some of your zoning stuff, or what do you think was the catalyst to kind of make some of that happen?
It's like a chocolate and peanut butter moment. So they want to grow the grant list, development review boards, excited about, they're there. A lot of them are significant taxpayers and they want to have, many hands make light work kind of, thing, right? And then, that's the chocolate. Then peanut butter for me, I show up and I say, look, it's a mechanic. I can just structure this decision and nobody goes to jail. So we just came together and just had a mutual interest there.
And Chuck, I've been working with Springfield in my past position. Chuck has been doing significant community outreach. It's really, really impressive. And he texted me this morning. He does this coffee Wednesday. What do you call it, Chuck? Your
the Wednesday coffees with Chuck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Things like that.
We
And
have
then
to
he had
come
a
back,
joint select board and planning commission meeting to talk about the bylaws, and they all gathered together and discussed it. So what Chuck is doing is something I would like to emulate, because he is obviously going places right now with it. So
Springfield needs it really badly.
It's the fun part about being in Springfield. I've worked for affluent towns, and it's a lot of the applicant comes in, and it's not as fun. Where Springfield understands the status quo is untenable. Yes, we had a joint select board planning commission meeting to discuss the updated ordinance, and we held it in a barn. The barn was retrofitted and will be hosting weddings and other special events. That pays for a barn restoration because horses no longer pay for barn restorations and other farm animals. It's about giving people experiences, and we have that in spades up here. So what paid for this barn was actually kind of hard to do with the existing ordinance. It became much easier with the proposed ordinance. So we all met in the barn saying, this is one element of the new update is we want to get more of this. We want to do more of these kinds of things.
So going from a trailer park to apartment buildings, or a vacant downtown building to a tenanted building, seems like pretty, the public could be, behind those kind of things. Any pushback with the extraction for a PDU kind of stuff, or any thoughts on I can see that being a big issue for neighbors.
Agreed.
But it still hits those, hey,
It's noisy.
housing development.
Yes. We still have our work cut out for that because by association, a quarry can scare people to death. We had projected that the proposed earth resource extraction that would occur on a residential development was 18 times less than what the small quarries would be operating. But even when you say that, there is a group of people that still don't believe you. And so we just have to navigate that. I think they feel that, this could lead to a quarry, and that's fear. So your question is so astute. There is some things that we are concerned about because people, they don't like that kind of change, or they don't like giving up control. They would prefer to have a certainty.
Yeah, of course.
Chuck, can I ask you, what is the order of magnitude on the density bonuses that you're looking at for some of those, like going into quote unquote undesirable properties, restoration sort of things? Is it like the difference of like 25%, or is it like the difference between like a duplex and a fourplex being permitted, or a full scale apartment building in a different zoning district?
Yeah, that's a good question, Kel. In some cases, the benefit is just you shift from site plan conditional use to administrative.
Oh, nice.
There's some that say there is no density. We are not having an upper density, but you have to stay within the footprint. And so the footprint, say if you're renovating a barn, that caps density in a way if you can't alter the footprint. But we're not actually setting a density limit.
Sure.
So depending on the special section and what you're doing will dictate some of the density changes.
That makes sense. Thank you.
I think, and I don't have a clear sense on this, and this needs to be more, you say like 125% density increase or 150% density increase. That's a common term you'll see in the bylaws. And then in practice, you're like, dang, this is only going to give one more unit or 3 units. This doesn't really change the fundamentals of making a project doable versus not doable. So I've really struggled with that language. We really want to come in and advance economic development priorities. But if you just use that standard stock language of, you get 125% or 150% that density bonus, doesn't really do much.
Does anybody have any more questions for Jeff? We really appreciate you jumping in here. We were afraid we weren't going to get to talk with you tonight. So
I'll blame Martha because I just got her list of changes in the ordinance. I'm still working on it. I'm like, this is long.
It's your fault, Martha.
I guess, Chuck, I got one more before
Yeah,
you
ahead.
go. It sounds like you've had success. Any misses that you've had that you would say, hey, watch out for that one?
Might be able to tell you that about gravel resource extraction. That is explosive. If they're looking for a new town planner on 26, you'll realize that didn't go so well. But so far, so good. This has been a slow incremental rollout, and Aaron is absolutely correct that you've got to kind of lead with outreach because people don't trust government these days, and they lumped us all into one thing. It's kind of weird because if you go to one bad restaurant, you don't assume every restaurant's bad, but you have one impression of the federal government, you just paint a broad brush and say state, local, federal, everything is all corrupt. So it's been very hard these days trying to navigate this emotionally charged atmosphere. I think there's an inherent risk on that. It hasn't resulted in a failure yet. I I wouldn't be surprised if it does.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you
Thank
enjoy
you.
your daughter's cooking there.
Yeah, she's making protein balls. I finally convinced her to do, it's still sweet, but I convinced her to do something healthier.
Yeah, with peanut butter.
Yeah.
This is coming from the man that bikes 100 miles everywhere he goes, so.
Wow. Thanks so much. Really appreciate you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yeah.
Have a great evening.
You too. Good night. Okay, our last item was, no, let's get back to you.
Oh, what was he saying?
Sewer, yeah, well shields. A reason why limit it?
Why
I
limit it
guess.
at all?
Yeah, why say, hey, it needs to be on the property boundary,
Why
assuming setbacks and like, I assume if you have an existing well and you sell the property next door, they can't put their septic there, or they can't put their well or something there, they're not gonna get a permit to do that.
Wasn't that person trying to get a permit to do exactly that? The person that divided their land up into 5 pieces and was into everybody's well shields?
Oh, right, the 8-lot subdivision on West
Yeah.
Hill.
Weren't they
Yes,
exactly
his
trying
well
to do
shields
that?
were all on everybody else's lot. It wasn't just that, it was actually gonna deplete other neighbors' wells that had been there for years and years and years, shared wells and stuff. So, yeah, there's plenty of lots out there with pre-existing well shields on their neighbor's lot. And they all seem to coexist, but really when it comes to placing a structure or development in that well shield, it's frowned upon.
So they wouldn't get the permit.
They wouldn't, they would from the state, but from us, no, we wouldn't give that.
Because it's not on their property.
Right.
But I guess,
It's in their neighbor's well shield, we wouldn't give them a permit.
is it because, I guess what I'm getting at is does it limit the potential development? We're not gonna allow you to build a house right in your neighbor's well shield, even though it's on your property, because it's in the well shield, or you can't put your septic there because it's in the well shield.
There has to be acknowledgement and it has to be written in the deed. It has to be, publicly recorded that that's what's gonna happen, so that in the future, when properties transfer, there's acknowledgement and notification, public notification that this is what you're buying, this is what you're getting into.
Is it considered an easement?
It can be, yes, I think that's what that proper term for it would be called.
Yeah.
So it's a construction
And then
easement
it's
in
in
your
your
neighbor's
deed.
shell.
Right.
Legally recorded instrument.
Yeah, and that gets recorded.
So by forcing it to be on that one property, it protects that person who would buy the neighboring property that says, hey, you don't have to worry about a well shield.
I need to hear that rephrased.
Yeah, I couldn't get that.
So I have a piece of property, I subdivide it, my well shield is onto this other
This
property.
is in a different.
I go to sell it, then they can't build on it because the well is there, or it runs the risk of being undevelopable because the well shield is there.
Unless you've already written into your deed or made acknowledgement in some public fashion that it's okay to build in your well shield, your neighbor can and their heirs can if they want at some point.
Does that answer your question?
Close enough.
Yeah, I guess.
Close enough.
And every town is different.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure we can
That's-
answer
yeah,
that
you know.
question here.
I guess I see the state, like the state's septic stuff is like, if you wanna do an outhouse or a composting toilet, like they, they're very strict on
Yeah.
all of that stuff. So I see them as like, why be more restrictive than the state, on something like a well shield?
Well, no, I've been taking the minutes for the DRB for God knows how many years. And it has almost always been that the DRB did not want to encumber anybody's well shield. And that's what they've done here.
What I hear you asking is why?
Yeah, I guess what's the risk, cause you have, with your septic systems, you already have this, you have easements all the time and.
Yeah, and why does the state not require that?
Or
That's
why
a good
do
question.
we not want to allow that?
Yeah,
There's been feuds, so we try to avoid making that happen or letting that happen. DRB would be the ultimate decider.
Well, the answer
That's
from
who we should be
DEP
talking
was
to. maybe.
Ludlow has not obtained delegation for administering the state wastewater system and potable water supply rules, then that's probably not something that you can do. I think you maybe wanna double check with Chris Callahan or an attorney, but
Yep. That makes sense. I think that's the best answer for this is this sounds like something that while we're on the record, we need to do a little more research.
yeah.
And I'm just more curious of why we do it, or
Okay.
would want to.
Yeah, it's a good question, we should find out. Okay, so moving on to Better Connections and other business, Better Connections we talked about. I just wanted to tell you, I asked Cherry, because she's our grant writing person, if there was anything for car chargers or environmental stuff or anything like that. I wanted to know about it, and so she told me about a grant for putting car chargers in. It can be in a governmental building for employees or a women-owned business or minorities. That was the money went toward to put these car chargers in. So I did all this research and I got I wanted to put 2 car chargers back here for the employees of Ludlow for this town hall, and met with the electrician. First the electrician bowed out, the first one that I met with after almost to the deadline, he bowed out at the very last minute. But I got another electrician and I met with Kevin, the groundskeeper, and he suggested where they should go as to where he plows and everything. And the only thing I needed left to do was to check with Brogan and Abby that own down Ketchum. And Abby has been sending me texts, very positive about it. She has a hybrid. It involved moving the parking lot that's over here to the left of the building so the cars would face the building instead, and we'd lose a spot, and the handicap spot would have me moved to the outside of that part of that lot. And everybody was on board with it, and I just checked with Brendan, and he said Rogan showed up today and said not only does he not want to do that, but he's gonna start charging the town $500 a month for the parking lot. And right now, they don't pay anything for it because the town plows it for him for free. But now he's gonna charge, so I guess it's not gonna happen after all that. It was gonna happen up until like the last, right before I came in here.
How did Cavendish get the one?
Yeah, that's why I went with the guy that Cavendish used.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
wondering
that guy
how they
was
got the
great.
money for that.
But I was gonna talk to you about Noah's, but he said it would be very hard to put it on that side because of the way Kevin has to plow it. He has to plow into that green space. So that's why I didn't talk to you about it, because Kevin was completely opposed to the idea. But he said the other piece he cuts in, and so that would have been a great place to put it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just want to mention that.
What about I guess it's for,
Can be any
Town
town
employees.
employees.
What about the electric light?
Oh, I didn't think about that. I thought about
It's got some
Nick
space.
Mealy in the community center, but he didn't think employees would use it. He said that guests would use it, and it's not for that, it's for employees.
For employees.
And he also said he's worried about snow plowing.
do we have any employees with EVs?
I have one, but I'm not an employee.
Yeah.
The electric light
I would-
department does, that's a
Yeah.
good suggestion.
That is a good suggestion. We could,
But I mean, like, if you were, say you worked here and you're a municipal, the employee, could you park over there and then just walk here and charge your car? Well, it's.
But I'm saying the electric light
Right.
department has people that have electric.
Right, but what-
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, Logan
Maybe
has one now
plans
too.
of-
He has a new one. I mean, electric one.
Oh, that's the one I
maybe.
hear.
Diane has an electric or hybrid.
I've been
Who
hearing
pays-
it lately.
You said the power company pays for it? Like
No,
through
the
GMP or-
Green Mountain Power pays for it. Ludlow had a 5% buy-in, which Brendan was gonna bring to the select board if we got the grant and all that stuff. But the electricity is Ludlow Electric. I checked on all that stuff. Logan's like, nowhere is Green Mountain Power
Yeah, but
supplying
it's a
those.
project that GMP is facilitating.
Funding, yeah.
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 And he gave me he increased the deadline for me because I, had to switch electric companies at the last minute. And he increased the deadline for me, but now I'm gonna find a whole new location. But the electric company's a great idea.
I mean, they are electric.
Okay, does anybody have any other new business they wanna bring up? I'm gonna make sure we put the signage stuff on the next agenda. Next agenda, we definitely need Martha. And I've been talking to Erin about also maybe at least starting the town plan. We have to get it done by 2027 as we do this town zoning.
Oof, it's right around the corner.
Yeah, it is right around the corner.
1 year and 2 months.
So we got the village sign ordinance, actually bylaws, right? Then we got Martha and town zoning, and do we wanna add town plan and just start that stuff for town plan? I know Jason said we had plenty of time, but Erin and I are feeling the pinch to get it done by 2027.
Let's put it on the January agenda maybe, so we'll start like fresh Q1.
Okay, is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
On the January agenda? Also, we need a new vice chair, because Ryan was the vice chair. So I'll put that on the agenda. Does that have to be like a separate thing? It's not like a whole reorg meeting. Can we just put it on
but
the
first of all,
agenda?
has the select board appointed a new member?
No. Do we have to wait for that for
I
vice chair?
I would do that, yeah.
Well, I'm just mentioning it because I'm having hip surgery next week.
Oh,
I expect everything to go smoothly. I'll be here for November's meeting, but in case I wasn't,
well, you got a clerk. Who's your clerk?
I don't
I
think
think
we
it-
appointed a clerk.
You should've.
Did we appoint you as a
I
clerk?
think it's
Jean?
me.
You think it's you? So it
I
goes to the clerk.
think, I'm not sure.
Alicia, thank you. I'm glad I was gonna research all this, but I'm glad you know.
Well, just look at the minutes.
Yeah, I'll look back at the minutes. For
I
who's the
don't have my
clerk.
computer with me.
So does the clerk just move up in rank?
I think it's Jean.
I would think that because you already have, it's almost like Sturpey's in a will. You already have an officers. So you'd have chairman, vice chairman, clerk. The clerk, wouldn't you assume that would,
I'll look at
Or
state
that.
statutes just to make sure, but thank you for your
I think
input.
it is because
I think
there was a select board meeting that I was almost gonna have to run that meeting last year,
And you were the clerk?
and I think I was the clerk.
then how come you're not sending me?
No, have you guys got any letters of people that want to be on the planning
Yeah, do we
commission?
have any?
Gail told me there, she was gonna
I-
advertise it. I haven't seen it advertised.
I haven't seen
I
it.
haven't seen
don't
it out
think
there,
so.
it should be, so
Yeah,
that
you
you
haven't
can
got any
just,
letters?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
cause how would somebody know if they don't? It's not advertised.
Is that something you wanted to do?
Don't think
I
too
think
hard.
I think where I'm at is a good
Okay,
spot.
because you're more than
I
welcome.
know
I think.
somebody who said they were interested, but
I know somebody who said he's interested.
I had two
but-
things for one thing for other
For other
business.
business?
Parking stuff. So a couple things I've been thinking about was the library, the museum, senior center, and Catholic church. All parking areas. Typically not a ton going on when we
Catholic church
feel
is
the need
huge.
for parking. Catholic church does have stuff going on the weekends, but be interested, it's all sidewalks, and all, something that has some of that parking where, I think senior center, the museum, library are all things that we fund as a town. Could be a very simple, hey, we wanna offer some of this, and I would be interested if you had some of that signage of like, this is where parking is, if that would, similar to what we have over there, if that's something that would be.
And the one thing about Better Connections too has this whole thing about uniform signs and directional signs and.
The branding of Ludlow, anything we can do to
Yeah.
get behind that,
Yeah,
I think is.
that was a piece Cherry was very interested in.
Yeah.
They're beautiful
the
signs.
wayfinding stuff, I think I brought it up
Yeah,
before,
the
Waterbury
wayfinding.
has a great job with that, of just, that, ooh, this is the town of Waterbury telling me where something is.
right.
And that, for visitors, like it,
Yeah, I love it. I was there yesterday. Okay, so you said Catholic Church Senior Center. What was the other one you said?
library,
Library.
The museum,
and the,
And the
yeah,
museum.
senior center, yeah.
Yeah, they're all pretty like a block away.
In the little corner on Smith Street and Depot Street too.
That's the mill.
No, you can't touch that.
That's the
I
mill.
thought that was ours.
Wouldn't you have to get
You'll get
permission
towed.
from
Yeah.
the individual property owners?
Well, you wouldn't.
In the
have a
case of the
church.
Catholic Church, you'd have to ask.
Right.
But the other three, you wouldn't have to, but you'd have
Cause
to.
the town, yeah.
Okay, you work it in with your appropriations.
You know,
But I did, on the parking subject, I did do a little research. I saw the real estate agent Beth in front of Johnny's Kitchen, and she said that the Brewfest and the real estate building and the parking lot has all been sold for 2.3 million. But Brendan said we can still park there, we pay $400 a month, and we plow the whole thing for free. And that the new company has agreed to that agreement too.
Mhm.
And I called Frank on the number in front of that Ellison block. He says it's $749,000. So that would be a great place. But anyway. Last night at the meeting, Justin, I read the minutes from the meeting last night. Alicia sent them to me. I appreciate it. And he said he doesn't think the town should own property, should buy
Yes.
property for parking. So anyway, that's his input on that. All right.
Well, I just have one comment on that.
Sure.
And I've said this before. When we look at parking, and if you look at other resort towns in other areas outside of Vermont, it's very common to charge for parking. And that's how you fund it and maintain it. And I have no objection. If I go to the beach or something and I have to pay for parking, I just think it's part of the tourist experience. I would never say, oh, I'm not gonna go there because I've gotta pay for parking. I'm not saying to do it exorbitantly, but I do think that's something we should really consider. We have a shortage of parking, we need to find parking, and maybe if we have to charge people for parking, so be it.
And it might solve the problem of people, they wanna go on the mountain, they wanna catch the shuttle, so they're taking up all the spots on Main Street.
Right.
And then people can't park and shop and eat on Main
Right.
Street all day, because all the spots are
Some of
taken.
the places that Noah just spoke about would be a great shuttle spot. Any one of those,
Yeah.
for, park your car for the day, take the shuttle
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
maybe pay for it
And it costs
or
you
whatever,
$5.
whatever.
And I've never heard of.
I'm not
people-
saying $20, I'm saying like $5.
Yeah.
And there's always an opportunity, cause we did it in where I lived before, where the locals, you can sign up and you get, so locals can still get free parking and
Yeah.
then the visitors.
You can get a
Oh,
sticker.
that's cool.
You get
or
a sticker on your car, like
You
the
get your
dump
sticker or you can register, it's an online
Yeah.
app and you register
Right.
it, and you just
Yeah.
upload
There's a
your
lot of
driver's
things,
license. So
ways you
there's-
can do
and
it now.
I've dealt with a lot of those companies,
Yeah.
just
But
like
I-
smart card.
Yeah, I really believe we should consider that because otherwise it's gonna go into our taxes.
Yeah,
And it's
it would
it's a
deter
way
people
to
from
fund,
parking there all
you
day.
might not fund it totally, but it will fund it.
And even like my buddy lives in Winooski. I was up there for a conference in Burlington where I rode my bike from Winooski, and I parked there for the whole day. It was like $7. So it wasn't like
Right.
it wasn't crazy, but it did force you to do something. The one thing it needs to pay for itself. So is it
yeah.
Yeah.
who's patrolling it?
The meter
and-
readers and
Yeah.
Right.
like
But-
Burlington and Montpelier now, it's all electronic. Just
Yeah, it's all like,
And
but
also
no, they
Woodstock,
still check though, cause
Oh,
people
yeah.
could, it's electronic to pay for it, but
Yeah.
you still need somebody to.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Okay.
but no, you said
Do
you
we
were
have a
two
second?
things, right?
No, just 2 parking locations.
Okay.
So yeah.
I'll
Did you-
second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.